Hey, everybody, welcome to the Blind Banter podcast. My name is Lorne, and today we're going to talk about the disability programs in Canada. I'm wanting to make an entire series of every single province and territory within Canada, and we want to talk about some of the programs that the Canadian government, as well as the provincial and territorial governments, offer to people with disabilities. I'm going to be focusing a lot in regards to blindness and low vision disabilities, but a lot of these will have large encompassing guidelines. So I'm going to be giving you kind of a generalization and a view if I've actually participated in the program, but I do urge you guys to go out and actually contact the programs. I will be including both the website, the canada.gc website that I'm going to be using and that I took all the information from, as well as I will be including the Disability Benefits Finder, which is actually a provincial lookup. It also does federal as well, disability program. So it'll ask you for a bunch of information and you can put it in there and it'll tell you all the provincial and federal programs. Now, I found that it's not 100% complete listing, but it's definitely a great place to start and a great tool to use in your arsenal to try to find what you're entitled to and some of the programs that may be of interest to you or someone that you know slash love, to help them get onto a program to help them with anywhere from schooling to a little bit of financial independence to using some programs to get accessibility devices. So I want to start today with um, the federal program and some of the main federal programs that I have used as well as that are available to everybody. It's going to encompass anywhere from seniors to children to students to just, I guess, the rest of the general public. So let's start today with the Canada Pension Plan Disability slash CPP Children's Benefit. Now, I have participated in this program. It is a very difficult program to get into. They consider it to be one of the most difficult in Canada to receive. It can take up to 9 months, I was told, and especially with the whole COVID thing as of right now, it can take a lot longer, and there's a very large denial rate, which if you need to appeal it, there's many different programs and different services online that you can look that up. But overall, the Canadian Pension Plan Disability will allow you to collect the Canadian Pension Plan disability benefits as long as you've paid into CPP, and that as long as you've had a certain amount of hours that you have worked into it, and I believe it's over the age of 16 or 18. Now, it also comes with a Canadian Pension Plan children's benefit, and the benefits can range depending on it, but most of the time I have been told that it's around the $255 mark. Now, that will allow your child to collect that amount of money as long as you are on that program. Now, the program is good for life until you turn 65, and then after that, it will change to the regular Canadian pension plan and the old age security as well as the guaranteed income supplement if you do qualify for that. Now, unfortunately, like some of the other programs, the Canadian Pension Plan Disability only includes financial assistance as well as some vocational, but it does not include dental or it does not include medical. So that's one thing that you definitely want to consider looking elsewhere for if you do apply for CPP disability. Now, the information that I was told that is if you start working, you have to let them know within immediately, but you can work 3 months or as long as you make under $5,800 a year, you're allowed to stay on it. Now, the 3 months is more so for the probationary period that many employers make you go through. And so at least you will be receiving your benefit through those 3 months, just in case you don't like it or it's not an accessible uh, workplace for you. The Canadian Pension Plan disability benefit is designed for people with extremely severe disabilities, and they do kind of focus on disabilities that kind of impact your ability to work, but they do allow you to volunteer and do some other kind of community jobs. Now, in regards to both the working well on CPP disability, they say that it's a case-by-case basis. So you need to contact them once you've been approved to be able to talk to them to find out what your specific circumstances are and if you will be able to keep your benefits. Now, once you have been approved for the Canadian Pension Plan disability benefit, I have been told that it is good for life unless you find a job. And if you find a job, then they will, depending on the amount of time, the reinstatement times will be shorter or longer, but you will not have to go through the whole sending in doctor's forms and hoping to apply, because once you've been initially approved, that does stay, I guess, in your favor for the rest of your life or until you get switched over to the Canadian Pension Plan at the age of 65. Now, there is also a Canada Child Disability Benefit, and it is pretty much um, what the title is, and it's just designed for if your child has a disability and that um, is kind of, I guess, considered to be severe by the Canadian government. Now, under the page that I will be including in the description, you will be able to look at the specifics about that, because I know that it can range greatly. So definitely check that out if you do have a child with a disability, as that can help greatly. Now, another one is the disability tax credit, or as they call it, the DTC. Or yeah, so the disability tax credit is a credit that's on behalf of CRA, or the Canada Revenue Agency. And the Canada Revenue Agency allows people with severe disabilities to be able to get some of the money back that they pay in the taxes, as it's a non-refundable tax credit. And if you're working, it's highly beneficial. Every year, of course, it changes. And so you definitely want to check in regards to the year that you've been approved to find out exactly what it's going to be to benefit you. But it's definitely a great thing to have. And once you've been approved, you can actually go back a certain amount of times depending on when your disability first started, that they'll allow you to go up. I believe it's back 7 years. And what they'll do is they'll retroactively look. And when I applied, I had applied, I guess, a little late per se, and they were able to go back, I believe it was 4 or possibly 5 years, and kind of add that disability tax credit to those previous years. So you do get some retroactive back pay, just like the Canadian Pension Plan disability. So both programs will look at giving you a certain amount of time previous. Now, with the Canada Pension Plan disability, they will put it through their algorithm and through their computers to find out exactly when they can start your payments, and then that they have up to 11 months to give you retroactive back pay depending on the onset of your disability. So you may get up to 11 months worth of the pension plan. With the disability tax credit, because it's done through the CRA, it can only go as far back as I was told 7 years. So that's definitely one thing you want to look into. And with the disability tax credit, once you do receive it, you aren't actually guaranteed to get any of that money back from CRA. So what you have to do is you have to request a review of every previous year through CRA. So you can either send in a letter or you can do it through the My Service Canada account if you have one. Um, yeah, because the My Service Canada will allow you to get to the Canada Revenue Agency, or else if you have a Canada Revenue Agency or CRA account, you can do it through there, and you just go under your previous taxes and ask them to do a review of your previous taxes, and then they will take their time. Now, I'm not sure what the current time frame is for that, but it did take me about 3 months or 90 days for someone to evaluate everything and to supply me with that back pay. So that's one thing that you do definitely want to contact the CRA about and find out what the time frames are, and if you need to get some more information on that, it's definitely a good idea to have. Now, they have another thing for people with disabilities called the Registered Savings Plan, or the Canada Savings Grants and Bonds. And what that allows you to do is it gives you another outlet to save. So it's also like the Registered Disability Savings Plan, or the RDSP. And the Registered Disability Savings Plan is designed for people with disabilities. And if you get that, most of the time you will get the disability tax credit as well. And so that will allow you to create a registered disability savings plan with whatever bank you're currently using, or whichever bank you want to use. And it will give you the ability to save at a higher rate than whatever's kind of currently available. So the first $500 that you put into it, the government of Canada will match it 3 times. So if you put in 500, they'll put in 15. If you do, and then the $1,000 after that, they will times that by 2, and then if you do another 1,000, they will times by 3. By 1. So they'll match your contribution. So it's definitely an extremely great program. They have changed the age for the end date of the ages that you can pull it up. So make sure you do double check with that program, as of course, like any government program, it does change, and there's always specifics in regards to everybody's position, but it does help a lot. And within that account, you can have some mutual funds and some stock options. Now, you can't do a lot with it, but it definitely does allow you to do some. So you do have some growth potential in there, and it's really designed to be a sheltered savings platform. Now, unfortunately, I'm not overly financially savvy, so that's something that you want to either talk to your bank or talk to your financial planner if you do have one, and look at that. And with that being said, they also have the Canada Savings Grants and Bonds, and that can be amounts that are put into your disability tax or your RDSP. So, for example, if you make below a certain threshold, they'll actually give you, I believe it's up to $1,000 as the Canada Savings Bond. And then within the grants, that's where they do some of the matching. So you can receive up to $1,000 a year in payments through the government into your registered disability savings plan. Now, if you take it out earlier, you lose most of the money, if not all, that the government puts in or matches you with it, unless it's a certain amount of time that has passed. So again, make sure that you do either talk to the bank look onto the website very carefully, or speak to a financial advisor or whoever is doing your taxes slash finances to find out exactly what all the ins and outs in your particular case is. Now, we also have one of the things that people overlook is the parking permits. Now, it's really good for me as I have a guide dog, so I definitely need a little bit of a bigger spot to be able to make sure that the dog can jump down, or that I can open up the door a little bit more to give my guide dog a little bit more room, especially when I'm having it in a leash, or if it's in harness. I try not to put it in harness, but I know a lot of people do like to keep it in harness even in the vehicle. So having that extra wide spot really works well in that certain circumstance, as well as of course, with people with any type of disabilities. They can have other factors, including lack of mobility, and other issues like that. So the parking permit is really good. Now, that's going to be determined by your specific territory slash province, and I'll be getting into a little bit more of that specific stuff when I start talking about the different provinces, but that's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, let's talk about guide dogs for a second. Guide dogs are federally recognized no matter what province or territory you're in under the um, Canadians with Disabilities Act. And every little province, I guess every little area of guide dogs are protected. So they're eligible to go anywhere you go, anywhere in Canada, anywhere that it's publicly. Now, that's the big thing. Anywhere where the public can go, your guide dog can go as well. Every province slash territory has different rules in regards to certification and licensing of the guide dogs. So just to kind of give a brief overview of Ontario, that has the Attorney General's card, which was actually signed up on behalf of me through my guide dog school. And then I received that roughly 4 weeks after I finished school and I came back home. So we will get into that when I start talking about every province and territory specifically. But that's one thing that a lot of people don't know is in Canada, anywhere public can go, your guide dog can go. Now, that does not mean that if your guide dog is misbehaving or is being a menace to the other public, they can actually be asked to leave the premises. So that's not considered discrimination under the Canadian Disability Act, as long as the guide dog is properly trained and is trained by an accredited guide dog federation school or training program, then it's allowed. But remember that at all times you are supposed to have full control of your guide dog, and you are responsible for your guide dog's behavior. So that's some of the federal stuff as a whole. Now, there are some programs for people that are going to school. There's the depending on which university slash college that you're going to, they may have their own fund. I will not be going through university funds and programs because there's just too many of them. But I do want to talk a little bit about the program through the federal aid. So if you are in a accredited university or college within Canada, they do have a fund that's available to the college slash university, and they will allow them to get you the equipment that you need depending on what you need and depending on what type of program you're in. So make sure that you speak to your your disability department to try to figure out what type of supports are available to you, and to see, because I know that there are ones for accessible devices for learning, as well as for textbooks to put them into a digital format or to put them into Braille or other forms of reading. And that's one of them. Now they also have another one through the federal called Grants for Students with Permanent Disabilities. Now, the title pretty much says it all, but you can get some financial assistance for students with a permanent disability enrolled at a designated post-secondary institution. Now, you may definitely want to check that out to see if your post-secondary school or college is eligible under the designated post-secondary, and to apply for that before you do go to school. They also have another one called Grant for Services and uh, sorry, for grants and equipment for students with permanent disabilities. Now, that was kind of what I was hinting on in regards to looking at accessible textbooks, other type of equipment. For example, I had a talking calculator and I needed a virtual um, virtual books, and they were able to talk to the printing company, and they made an accessible format for me. So that worked out really well, where I could put that on the iPad. Now, they also have the Canada Student Loans Program, Severe Permanent Disability Benefits. And this one says that it's how a borrower can have student loans forgiven if they have severe and permanent disabilities preventing them from possessing further post-secondary education and from working. So depending on the level of disability that you do have, that may be something that you want to look at. Now, one other disability, or I guess a couple disability programs that aren't specifically given to you by the Canadian government, but that is eligible for all Canadians, with, I believe, exceptions of Quebec for the Canadian National Institute of the Blind, is their CNIB card. Now, if you have low vision or you have a visual disability, you are entitled to it. And that card will allow you to use transit for free or for a discounted fare, depending on where you are. Now, I've traveled both in Toronto, Ottawa, Saskatoon, Calgary, and Vancouver with the card and showed it to them. And I was admitted onto the O train, the GO train in Toronto, and then the Sky train in Vancouver, and then the C train in Calgary, as well as the buses in those areas. So that's one thing that you definitely do want to look at. It does also offer a lot of other programs, so it will allow you to go to museums for just the cost of you, and your chaperone gets in for free. It also works on Via Rail, as your chaperone travels free for you. Air Canada, it allows you to bring in a secondary caregiver for you for just the cost of taxes. So their base fare is waived, and you just have to pay the fees and taxes. And it also offers a lot of other kind of perks per se, and abilities for you. So it's definitely something to consider if you do have a visual disability. It does also allow you to get canes if you need to, or access some of your provincial programs a little easier, I have found, if you do get the CNIB program card, and that also allows you to ask for a lot of the CNIB program that offerings a little easier. So it's one thing to check out. The other one, which I really like, is the Access to Entertainment card, and that is through the Easter Seals of Canada. It's really good in regards to allowing you to bring in a chaperone at a movie theater. And as I'm really bad in the dark and I have no depth perception, it really helps me is that if I want to go and see a movie, I can still listen, and I can also use their descriptive audio um, headsets that they allow, or a described audio, so I can actually watch the movies and listen and take part and get the whole experience. But my wife can also come with me for no charge, and she can hold my hand to go up and down the stairs, or to maneuver in both lines, as well as through all the ticket stalls and trying to find my seat when it's dark or when there's a lot of people. So that really helps. It also allows you again into the museums. It allows you into a lot of other stuff. So you can look on their website, and I will also include that in the description. And that's one program amongst many that are very beneficial. But I will talk about some more of the miscellaneous programs that are offered through some of the national and some local programs, as much as the information that I can find. And that's really why I would love to get more input from you guys in regards to some of the programs that you are on or that you know of in your local community, and just try to help me out. And you can reach me at blind banter, BLINDBANTER, at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Instagram at the Real Blind Banter, or Twitter at Blind Banter, and then Facebook. We also have a page, Blind Banter, as well. So that's everything for me with regarding the federal, and I do thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us or to reach out to us on social media. And until next time, stay safe, and we'll talk soon.